When national talking heads, even local people, talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, very complimentary. They'll be like, hey, he's not perfect, but he's great at this and great at that, and he's the best leader, and he's so handsome, and he's a great guy. But then the league, when it's time to like actually make a move for this guy or trade for him, every team is like, no thanks. So why does the media like this player so much more than the league does? It's amazing to me. Why do you think it is?
The weird thing is the media didn't like him as much until they drafted Trey Lance. Before
Right.
that, it was he's the reason that they're holding the 49ers back.
Right. Ryan Clark
Jimmy
said that,
Garoppolo
right?
has to play better.
Yeah.
I remember one of the offseason, even after the winning or going to a Super Bowl, the questions were, is this quarterback better than Jimmy Garoppolo? Oh, this quarterback's definitely better than Jimmy G. Would you rather have this guy or Jimmy? There were a lot of these. I'm like, man, where are all these conversations coming from? But now all of a sudden, Jimmy's great and he's a winner and he, always plays at a high, whatever the case is. But that was not the narrative prior to drafting Trey Lance. Jimmy was the person holding the 49ers back in the media. I know even that frustrated me at times because I wanted to see him continue to grow as a quarterback. I just don't think he ever did.
Yeah, but I think you brought up something very interesting. I mean, ever since Trey Lance got here, there's this like revival of the Jimmy Garoppolo mythology. And all of a sudden he can do no wrong. And it doesn't matter how many teams turn their nose up at it. How many teams are like, nah, we're good. We don't really want Jimmy Garoppolo. You can have him. There are very prominent media people who hold on to the notion that he's great, or at least say it. I don't understand. Maybe John Lynch just has so many friends in media that he's getting these people to like try to build up Jimmy Garoppolo's trade value. Like, come on, man, help me out. We're friends. You want me to succeed? I have no idea.
I think teams see him, and they see him in some of the biggest moments. And I have like his playoff stats pulled up here, and it's not great. When you look at it, it doesn't look like something where you're like, oh, this team has a playoff success because of their quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo has started in 6 playoff games with the 49ers. He's won 4 of them, lost 2. That's actually not bad. 4 playoff wins, that's good. You look at the numbers, and 60%, he completed 60% of his passes in that time. That's not quite Jimmy, right? Jimmy is a quarterback
that accuracy. Yeah.
He's very accurate. He completes closer to 70% of his passes as opposed to 60. But in the biggest of moments, things start getting a little tight. Everything is higher. The stakes are higher. He completed 60% of his passes in 6 games. He's thrown 4 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, and with a 74 passer rating. Right, like those numbers they're not great. That doesn't speak to someone who's leading a team in the postseason. But a lot of teams, when they're sitting down, execs, whatever, maybe they're out of it and they're looking at, man, we can go get Jimmy Garoppolo. And then you watch him and you're like, it doesn't look like what people are telling us we're getting from him, right? Like there could be that.
There's the playoff stuff. You also saw that video that was circulating of his 10 longest throws from last year.
Yeah. I feel like they kind of left some stuff off. But yeah, for the most part, that's, yeah.
Teams know
I saw the video.
So, okay,
it was like interceptions, overthrows, like, yeah.
And when the media talks about him, they talk about his record and his face relentlessly. I really don't think teams talk that way about quarterbacks. We need to bring Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a handsome guy. That's the kind of guy we want in our season tickets. Like, I really don't think teams, maybe they do. I don't think they do.
If I were a team and I was looking for a quarterback, and what I would sell my team on, or, why we should go after Jimmy Garoppolo, is because there are a few things that I think he has that definitely help result in wins. Where I don't think he's necessarily the reason, but there's a couple things that he definitely brings. One, he brings that leadership. His 49er players, his teammates, they love him, right? So leadership, and I think that's a big thing in the sense of getting players to follow you no matter where you're going, even if you aren't very good in the playoffs, but they believe you are because you're such a great leader. So he brings that. I think he's very tough. You see some of the things that he played with, and again, guys can get behind that. Now, Martellus Bennett didn't get behind that in New England because he went the other way. But with, what the 49er players have seen, they've seen a guy that's extremely tough and maybe played some games where he shouldn't have. So there's that aspect of it. And then just kind of this grittiness. So I think those are certain things right there where if I'm a team, I'd sell myself on that as far as, trying to get him. I think, there's a clear area where you kind of have to win. Remember the 49ers early in the season, they had no identity. and they were losing, and they were 3-5, and it's like, what's their identity? Situation all messed up, and then the next 3 games they win because they run the ball 40 times. Yep. So for a quarterback who everybody's saying, oh, they win with this guy, like he's the reason why they just win. They just win. Where they're telling you, well, we win when we run 40 times with him, right? Exactly. So there's that element of it too. But I think there is a clear area where if you do certain things well enough and things are good around him, like you can win. He just won't ever truly be the reason. And if I'm a team and I have aspirations of maybe saving my job because I need to make the playoffs, he is a guy that I would probably try and go get.
Yeah, like if Jimmy Garoppolo is your quarterback, you know that your game plan every week is to find a way to run the ball as much as possible. Because the more you throw, the more times he's going to throw that pass to the linebacker that he may or may not catch. You can't have him throwing more than 30 times a game on average. It's got to be down closer to 25, and that's your magic number. That's a tough place to be. It's hard to win that way. And then if you get to the playoffs, you pretty much have to erase him from the game plan altogether because he's a liability. So, I mean, he might save your job. He might give you a good, respectable season, but ultimately you're not going to win the Super Bowl with him. He's not in his 20s. He has no upside. To me, he's a waste of time for any team, including the 49ers.
He's not, because everybody's situations are a little different, right? Perfect example. Kyle Shanahan last year. He had one winning season in 4 years. I have to have a winning season.
That's a good point.
He didn't have the luxury of going out and playing, even if he felt like, man, Jimmy Garoppolo, man, it's so hard to win with him. Man, like designing and scheming things up and how teams are defending him and keeping guys in the box, it's hard. But I know I can win games with him, as opposed to what I know I'm going to get from a rookie, which is a lot of unknown. So let me go in out there, and he's going to save the way that I'm viewed. And next thing you know, 49ers go to the NFC Championship game. Teams like, I thought Washington Commanders had a great point. Like, okay, Ron Rivera, it's year 3. If you don't have a winning season, you're out of there. So I thought Jimmy Garoppolo, with that defense that they have, man, like he makes a lot of sense for them. If you are a team that's like, hey, our goal is Super Bowl, right? Like, say the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. When obviously they drafted Patrick Mahomes, right? We saw that. But let's say they didn't have Patrick Mahomes and they just had Alex Smith. Well, they knew exactly what Alex Smith was. They would never trade Alex Smith and bring in Jimmy Garoppolo. Because it's like, well, no, we're trying to take a step above. We're trying to get more dangerous. We're trying to threaten teams in a different way. Jimmy, we still are going to need everything to be perfect around him. So we're not going to make that move. So he makes sense for certain teams if they need something, maybe a coach trying to save his job. But as far as a team where like 49ers, where they have Super Bowl aspirations, I think you can win a Super Bowl with him, but everything got to be perfect. And that's just not ideal.
Jimmy has a legit gripe. I'm just trying to see. I don't really try to see things from his perspective very much because he's got $100 million for doing very little. But from his perspective, he's like, man, Kyle, I saved your fucking job last season. This is the thanks I get. I played hurt. Your job was on the line. I saved it. And now, like, you still can't even release me? You can't even cut me. That's
why I think they will cut him. I think ultimately they'll let him go, and what they'll say is we want to give Jimmy the best chance to find the best situation for him.
Maybe. If they do that, I'm going to roast them for not doing it 4 months earlier. But yeah, they could. Southside Tone says one moment Trey's making progress, then it's reported he sucks. Then the next week he's doing great again. Shake my head. Just let him play. No, man, we got to have headlines in the off period. Sorry. This is a function of it being July 8th. Nothing happening. This wouldn't be news if it was mid-training camp. I'm just saying that. Swan Song says, Browns fans hate Watson. What if Jimmy Garoppolo does too well? Browns fans are really pissed about that. I've noticed that. They're a little too mad about the Watson situation. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, and it'll be that way for a while. I remember when Andy Reid signed Michael Vick, and there were fans outside protesting, never going to go to a game. Right. And next thing you know, when Michael Vick's there, he's the backup for a while, does well, kind of changed the way he's viewed in the community. And then by the time he was a starter,
fan favorite.
Didn't nobody care about none of them damn dogs, So this is definitely different. It's a situation with women. I'd assume that Pittsburgh fans were upset with Ben Roethlisberger when he was accused of rape, and it ultimately went away with a settlement. He was raping women in bathrooms, all that stuff. So again, like people eventually will look past it. It just might take some time. So the Browns, the fan bases have shown before, they are forgetful, at least to the point where they get their fans back.
Joshua Rowan says, if you had to give a percentage 0 to 100 after seeing Trey in practice this offseason, what's your opinion on how successful he will actually be in his career? I think he could be I've always said he has the highest ceiling of any quarterback I've ever seen. I don't know if he's going to reach his ceiling, but I think he has the potential to be in the 90s, to be a Madden 95 guy, a Madden 97 guy. He could do it. I'm not saying he will, but there's nothing he doesn't do well. I think he is accurate. I mean, you could nitpick his spirals, but I think he actually is accurate, and I think the numbers bear that out. Anyway, next question.
Trey was never the one anyone wanted until he was selected. They just wanted no Mac Jones. I have tweets out there. I wish I knew how to put them up right now, but I have a tweet that said that I would take Trey Lance over any quarterback in this class, and that was before the draft. So,
yep.
That was just my opinion, finding out who he was as a person, being in NFL locker rooms and seeing why some guys are successful, even guys that might have more talent and they end up being a bust or whatever situation was. And once they start diving into Trey Lance, the person, and you put that with the attributes that he has, I felt like he's the kind of guy that will overcome whatever he has to go through to end up being the best version of himself. So I have a tweet out there that says, and somebody asked me, like, who would you take? And I'd say, I'd take Trey Lance over any quarterback in this class for those reasons.
I got a hot take for you. I think you'll agree with me. Let's say Jacksonville last year shocked the world like they did this year and took Trey Lance number 1 instead of Trevor Lawrence. And Trey Lance went down to Jacksonville and had the exact same season that Trevor Lawrence just had. The same exact numbers of wins and losses. What will people say about Trey Lance right now?
Bust. Terrible.
Bust.
Worst pick, Lawrence, worst number 1 pick in. He would be the worst number 1 overall pick since I don't know, Jamarcus Russell or something or whatever. But anything and everything you could say bad about a player, they would have said that, because if you look at you look at Trevor Lawrence and what he did, it wasn't a good season at all. But they're going to give him all the excuses or the reasons as to why it looked as bad. When I think, even if you aren't great your rookie year, I would assume that you would do better than that. And, I mean, statistically, he was one of the worst quarterbacks out there in the NFL.
Right, but these analysts have had their minds made up on these quarterbacks since before the draft. So there's nothing Trevor Lawrence could have done last year that was going to change people's opinion. He stunk in Jacksonville. It's not his fault. He's still talented. Yeah, that's probably true. But then again, same thing on the other side of the coin for Lance. There was nothing he could do last year, say being Patrick Mahomes, that was going to change people's opinion. So he didn't play. That's evidence that he sucks. Or if he had been in Jacksonville and played just like Trevor Lawrence, that's evidence that he sucks. So I think there's just a lot of people confirming their biases right now with young quarterbacks. So keep that in mind.
And we see that a lot with guys. I think even Rich Gangrillo, with him out there and there's like, I don't want Trey Lance, this, that, and the other. And then you have to kind of continue to sell those things and say whatever you can to kind of push him down. Unfortunately for him, or maybe fortunately, but we will see Trey Lance play. And we will get the chance to see for ourselves, how he does. But there are a lot of guys that they need to be right about their opinion of a guy. Me, I could think a certain way about a guy, and if it doesn't work out, whatever. What are you going to do now? And that's just the way I live my life. I'll be convicted about something, and I think this, and if it doesn't work out that way, then I pivot. Yeah. I came out to here to Arkansas Monticello to coach at the university, and it didn't end up working out. I can't even tell you why, but I just had to pivot, and now I'm living a great life and doing all these other things that would have never happened. So you can't dwell on things. I think when it comes to Trey Lance, he's going to either work out or he's not, but at least give him a chance. They haven't even given him a chance yet.
What really bothers me is this idea that maybe his position coach didn't want to coach him. If you don't want to coach some professional athlete, fucking quit and let that athlete have the benefit of coaching someone, working with someone who wants to coach him. Remember Winning Time? You watch Winning Time?
Yeah.
Okay. I love that show. And one of the best things about the Jerry West character, I mean, this is real. He quit. He didn't want Magic Johnson. He was wrong, but he quit. He's like, I'm not the right coach for this team. I suck as a coach. It's not the team I want. Hire someone else. That was the honorable fucking thing to do. I know I can't coach. I will not be the right coach for Magic Johnson. Bring in someone else. yo, Scangarello, if you didn't want to coach Trey Lance, let someone else do it. Why are you doing it?
Well, eventually he did. Eventually he did, right? He left to Kentucky. So
that's true. Anyway, and I don't know that he didn't. So I'm just saying.